Back everyone to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. We have our President and CEO, Barry Morin, here with us today in the Ignite
Hey, Evie.
studio. And then we also have Sam. Sam, you own the land?
I do.
So people might be
That
confused by
sounds
the way I
pretty
was
big.
saying that.
The land,
But
he
the
owns
land-
everything.
It sounds like a really big deal the way I worded that. But the land is a retreat, correct?
Well, actually, it's a property that I've owned for quite some time, and but recently I've begun an experience called a Walk in the Woods experience. It's a retreat type organization for organizations and groups of people.
What else do you guys do there?
Oh, we enjoy ourselves. It's a beautiful place, kind of near Appomattox, Virginia. Spent a lot of time down there, kind of pretend farming and that sort of thing. But really recently have geared it more towards bringing groups out. For example, Barry's Virginia CEOs group is going to be coming out in about a month or so.
Okay, so what are some things that what's the experience like that you've heard back from people that have been there with their teams or with their groups?
Yeah, I think what people tend to point out that's different is it doesn't feel very scripted, although it's actually fairly highly choreographed.
It's 100% scripted. Don't kid you.
But it feels pretty spontaneous. And my belief is that it's totally set in the outdoors. I mean, the accommodations are very nice. It's not really roughing it, but we spend most of the time outside, breathing the fresh air. The signature event is the walk, hence the name. And my experience, my belief is that when you're outside, you just experience things in a different way. Your learning is different. You pick things up at a different pace through a different lens. And so what people come away with, and it's sort of a tagline, jokingly I use, is people say, this is amazing. That they come out of it thinking and understanding more about the group they were with and about themselves than they really thought that they would have.
I have to agree. Where I'm from in Greece, it's basically the middle of nowhere in the mountains. People think because I'm from there, I'm from an island. No, I'm from the mainland in the mountains where there's nothing around for 2 hours, if you're lucky. And the time that I spent there every summer growing up, being there and not having access to so many things really put me into a different perspective when I would come back. Almost felt like I was rejuvenated, like a new person again. So I can understand why people would think that. What are some activities that you guys do? Like what are some things that you do to bring everybody together?
I also think that when you're trying to bring out the best in people or get them to think about their life, the situation in a different way, it takes time to do that. And so we start pretty slowly. We do a couple of things just to get warmed up, but not the goofy types of icebreakers. But we talk a lot about it's couched to be talking about leadership. Usually, this is people that are involved in leading others. So we talk a lot about leadership and the role that listening plays in that. Is some techniques for listening, and being a recovering poor listener myself, I have good experience in it. But we do that. A couple of as I mentioned, the signature event is the walk. So, we go through the first evening, again, get to know each other, do some things that warm everyone up. Then the next morning, at daybreak, we take a walk. It's a couple of miles. It's a beautiful place. It's also in the middle of nowhere. Which is it might be the address, but we're up and down hills, walking through varied forests, across fields, and that's about a 2-hour walk that really enables people to clear their minds. Then we arrive. We talk about what we discovered the day before. We arrive at a camp. We cook breakfast together. Is a pretty unusual experience. I would say that's what most people tend to report back, is that's an unusual event. So we do that. We spend a lot of time together. I would say the key thing is that we're together for about 40 hours, but we really only work maybe 5 or 6. The rest of the time, it's really reflection, feedback, getting to know people. It's a great event.
That's amazing.
When you had your previous business, you were a CEO. When you're an entrepreneur, you had employees. Did you ever do a retreat like this, or was it a vision that came after you retired and you say, this is the next entrepreneur, like Stan Malpin does? Ankur, this is your last curtain call.
I've always done things like this.
You have.
And we bought the land, and that's just a name. We're not very creative. We have the
Right.
land, the
I
camp,
thought it was.
the shop, the lot. We're not that creative on names, but I bought the land in 1995, and shortly after that, started bringing just friends groups. If I was a member of a board or the head of a board, I would bring a group out. I've always thought that when you get people out of their normal routine, and particularly, a couple of night event where the first night everybody's still very, busy and, trailing off from what they've been up to. That second day is really kind of where the money is. But I've always done it, whether it's a sales meeting, a strategic planning meeting. I've always enjoyed doing that. And you mentioned the encore, whatever you mentioned. Yeah, I'm more or less retired now. And what I was luckily able to do is, when at the end of your career, you sometimes are saddled with the not as much fun things to do. Everyone else is out slaying the dragon, and you're like, what's wrong with the 401k?
Right.
So I was able to pull a couple of the parts of what I really love doing and bring that with me. And one is talking about leadership, and particularly the role that listening has in that, and entertaining people. I have a funny way I say I throw a good meeting. I've always thought that, work and play didn't necessarily have to be separate. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I've always had a knack for this, I think, and enjoyed it. And then, but it's probably 3 or 4 years ago, as I began to think about retiring, that and I thought I need to do something with the land to share it a little more. We had a lot of people visit through the years, but really have enjoyed bringing people out there. And I'm making as many friends now as I ever have based on bringing people out. It's a gift that the land is, and I'm just happy now that I figured out a way to share it with more people.
Yeah, your networking has to keep growing. Your network, you're right, it makes sense. And I think what's been missing, I've never done anything like this. I did 20 groups. We talked about this, but I think what you offer is something very much needed, a place to go away, no noise, no, I don't remember seeing our group using cell phones a lot, or I didn't answer any emails when I was out there. I bought into this 24 hours of, being away from everything. And we talked to a woman like Evie as a future leader, she's young, and where is she going to learn how to be a leader, listener, CEO? It's not going to always come from day-to-day working, mentorship. It's going to come from events like this, doing events with the community. So anybody listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, I want you to know, I guess I shouldn't spoil it, but the land, this is a great bottle. Fresh air from the land, Evie. And I use this in meetings, Sam. Restores the soul and energizes the spirit. Uncork the bottle, breathe deeply, feel better, put cork back in bottle, refill once a year. That's great advice because, yeah, when I took this job because I didn't want to retire. I want to give back something, and that's what you're giving. This is my choice. This is your choice. But together, and everybody listening to this, whether you're a CEO, a sales manager, HR manager, marketing company, a nonprofit, Evie, anybody listening to this should share it to the decision makers or the planners, and even employees can put it together. Just put together one day, go to their company and say, we're taking a 1-day retreat to the land. And in Virginia, it's accessible. I think it was there an hour and a half.
Roughly. Yeah.
And he walks you through the woods. You have to wear no shoes. You have to go like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. He makes you go swimming.
That's optional.
Yeah, he makes you go swimming in a creek that he made.
Also optional.
So, hey, go ahead, Evie. I know you got questions coming now. So what else can we talk about?
Well, Barry did
We're at 9
mention
minutes,
people
so
in a
couple minutes.
leadership position, which I thought was really interesting because I got pushed into this leadership position unknowingly and very unexpectedly. And so for me, it has been a learning process. So what are some things that you discuss? You said the first night is really a discussion about leadership. What are some things that you discuss with them that kind of helps them bring into perspective and a forethought for them on the walk the next day?
Well, yeah, I reflect a lot on my experience as a leader. I basically was in business for about 40 years, and I would say, the first 30, I was leading a company, but I was still the producer. And it wasn't until about with 10 years to go that I realized that I sort of had it wrong, and I needed to be counting on others in the company to help and lead. So my credit to Barry to give you the opportunity. I would say one of the things that I try to talk about that opens people's eyes, so they'll listen, is that most companies, you should figure out a way to push leadership further down into your ranks. Not just management. Management and functional activity is important, but that's different than leadership. That leadership and the thinking about leadership should be pushed much further and can be pushed much further down in your organization. And that if you reflect on it, you'll probably find out you probably already have people that can do that.
Yes.
But for some reason, your mindset is such, like mine was, that you don't think they want to do it or they're capable of doing it. Some 10, 12 years ago, when I decided to embark on a sort of a change in thinking about leadership, I found out that I had a lot of people in our company that were craving it. They really wanted it. They wanted to help. It totally changed my feeling of being alone with the responsibility for leading and developing and ensuring the success of the company. All of a sudden, I've realized I'm not alone at all. I've got a lot of people that care just about as much about the company as I do. So I tell that story, and I think that enables people. And what I also say early on is, hey, just play along, would you?
He does.
We got a lot of strong-willed people usually in this group. Yeah, and it could easily just and I say, hey, when you hear something and it's time for you to make a comment, it's not the time for you to say, here's how I do it. It's to reflect on what you just heard. So I try to put some of that thinking out there, and it seems to work. And then you get the outdoors and add it together. I'm also not scared to say, hey, save that till a little bit later. But it's mostly telling my story and what it did for me, particularly as I just mentioned. It relieves being the top of a company. It's a great thing when things are really going great, and it's a terrible burden when things aren't. And even when things are going well, you're always worried what's going to happen next. So learning that leadership does a lot of things for you, but particularly as a leader, it helps you share that load with people who want to bear some of the burden. It's a tremendous relief to find out. And how do you know how much someone cares?
Right.
Until you entrust them with leadership and they respond like you are
That's
currently.
true.
I mean, you never can be sure until somebody picks that up and says, I'm here.
That's very true.
What else can I do?
And like we were just talking, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You were just talking about before you came in, Eddie, is you being an owner that can trust that everything's happening when you're not watching. And that's what you're talking about. And I think the more you talk and I reflect on my experience in the fall, winter, I guess we were there, or spring, whatever it was. I think the listening part really comes out on the walk on the land, because you keep everybody quiet, you talk, and we be quiet, and we listen to things that we never, and it sounded hokey. I didn't want to do it. And I'm a raving fan after it happened. Yeah, for you to get me to be a raving fan of your product, it's amazing. I mean, because again,
A monumental task.
yeah, it is a monumental, because I am stubborn. I know more than everybody if you ask me. But the leadership skills, what's lacking. I was in the car industry for so many years, and a minority partner. I was the worker bee, right, and highly successful. But I used to say to everybody, when things went great, thank you all. When things went bad, it's my fault because I didn't have the plan. And the more I got older or more mature, it had nothing to do with age, more bad experiences. I failed on a lot of things. I think failure is the greatest thing in life, right? And you make mistakes and you correct them because you monitor what it is. But I did learn the word empowerment and, you got to trust us. Well, those are big words that they don't understand what that means. Empowerment means you got to take the ball and run with it. And I don't think we knew how to do that decades ago. But I think now, and my mentors never taught me because they didn't understand. But today, I think it's a Better Business Bureau, and if we talked about this every day. We've got 10 employees. They are raving fans of our brand, raving fans of the consumer out there looking to stay in business not to get scammed and fraud, committed against them. And for business owners to be their best and start with trust and integrity and respect. And that's what we do because everybody's empowered out there. And you're going to meet this group and they're going to talk to you. You're going to see the passion. You're going to grade me in the back of your mind saying Barry's either misleading me or he's spot on. That we have a unique thing going on here. And that's why we're a big part of the business community. And we will continue to be and grow with people like Evie because they're going to take the ball and they're going to run unscripted. They're going to learn by their mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes. We don't reprimand really. The old Barry, very bad reprimander. Today, life is too short and everything can be corrected. Everything. So we're at 15 minutes. So we want to ask Sam how to get in touch with him and then wrap it up.
How people can get in touch with you. How can they get to the land?
Well, all you got to do is just, I guess maybe we can put a link to the website. Barry's taking a little sniff of the air. Yeah, you can just look at our website and I guess we'll put a link on about that, or just look it up, a walk in the woods experience. It comes right up. So looking forward to, getting a chance to be with people. And thank you guys for helping me do my inaugural podcast.
This was really good. You did great. I mean, I knew you would. So it's just storytelling. That's all podcasts are. And if you ever want to do a podcast, we rent this studio. If you rent it out for $40 an hour, you can tape 4 episodes for $40. Wow. It's pretty cheap. It's cheaper to go to a radio station. But if you need to go there, go for it. But podcasting, telling stories is a way we're going to grow our community.
I agree. Thank you. It was nice meeting you in the podcast studio.
Yes, thank you.
So I met you for a very brief moment in Barry's office, but thank you for letting me participate in your podcast today and being a part of your story. For anyone that's watching on YouTube, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment down below in the video. It helps the algorithm out. And if you're listening on Spotify, please make sure to follow and share out the audio. Anyone stuck in traffic, I'm sure would be more than happy to have something to listen to.
Especially Sam. Smell the air, open the window.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.